Okay. I think you'd like this bit Okay. Great to see everybody. I thought that maybe it would have been appropriate to do the eulogy to Peter after his funeral, but it didn't happen like that. And in fact, in retrospect, I think that was probably a good thing, because Peter's spiritual home, apart from 145, the Buffers, his real home, was here, was actually the Severn Valley Railway. So great to see everybody here today. It's only a short presentation. Thank you to lots of you who sent images that I asked for of Peter, especially Andy, hi Andy, Stano, Julian, everybody else. I couldn't include all of them because Don said 15 minutes max, Mike. I said okay. So let's just do a few slides to remember our late, great, dear leader. Lights, please. So, you see, there was a double act. It wasn't just Peter, it was the lovely Gaynor. And if you remember, you'd sign up for a tour, you'd send your deposit, and then a piece of paper would arrive 3 weeks later saying, we're not going there, we're going there. And then when we got there, we had to go somewhere else. Well, who do you think did all that administration? Who typed all those letters? Who filled in the addresses on the envelopes? It was the lovely Gaynor. And I'll tell you one other thing about Gaynor you may not know. She's the only person I ever met that could put Peter in his place. It's true. If you think about it. You know, if ever you went to the Buffers, 145 Fulford Hall Road, and Peter stepped out of line, there was one word that would boom around the house. Kennard! we miss both of them, but I think Gaynor doesn't get the tributes maybe she should. So here we are now. I first met Peter in 1969 on a Birmingham, a Bournemouth and Kings Heath study tour to Germany, West Germany, for 2 weeks. And in fact, at Peter's funeral, I think there were 3 of us there who were on that original trip. 2 of us are here today. Unfortunately, Ed isn't, but it was 69, and I'm pretty certain that that trip round West Germany gave Peter the idea for the Warwickshire Railway Society Overseas Tour Committee. I never found out who the committee were other than Peter, but I'm sure they existed. So here's a photograph of our late great dear leader in his usual pose. But what was it that means we're talking about him today, and we still talk about him? What was it that made Peter unique, I have to say? Well, it's this. And this. There's FC at the front there. And the reason being that if it wasn't for Peter, I'm sure there would, I certainly am included in this, there would have been hundreds and hundreds of steam railway enthusiasts that wouldn't have enjoyed the tours to far countries all over the world, but especially the Old East. If you think about it, Peter with the ideas and Gaynor doing the administration, we quite simply wouldn't have been. So regardless of what one may or may not think of the odd foible that he had, I ought to tell you this, the first time, going back to 69, we had our first little disagreement. We got to Hamburg and we had a morning to ourselves, and I said, I was only 17, I said, let's go up to Altona. There's some O3s working up there. There aren't any O3s working up there. Of course, we got there and the O3s were working. And here we are. This is somewhere in the Netherlands. I don't know where. What a fine body of men. James, is there. Eric, Julian, they're all there. This is on one of our grand tours. And there's the great man in action. Looks like Oshalt, Chris. Somewhere on the NG. We used to go there a lot. But of course, you realise Peter didn't just. It wasn't just overseas. He didn't often organise tours. Looks very happy there, doesn't he? And the reason he doesn't look very happy is because we were waiting for the pub to open at Faversham, and we'd had a run from Victoria, I think it was, down to Faversham behind. Chris?
I can't remember.
Tangmere, thank you very much. And there we are. And this is most members of the Whitlick Six. It would be inappropriate to talk about why the Whitlick Six existed. And there we are. Look at the car behind. I wish I'd kept that one. A 2.8 I Capri. And once again, our dear leader with James Aloysius in the fore. And note that our dear leader there is using his famous Praktika, nicked Clicken Clacken. For those of you, sorry, if you weren't on those tours, you won't get it. I'll tell you later. But Peter used to take us to such exotic places. I mean, you know, everybody remembers the fun in India or China, but it was in the East that Peter excelled in getting us up at 4:30 in the morning. To get a train at 5:15 because it was steam hauled. Now the LCGB or the RCTS would of course have stayed in bed and got the later train, but not Peter, because Peter actually was the Ryanair of organising rail tours. You had to get, as well as not enjoying yourself, you had to get maximum value for money. And that meant a 5 a.m. start and a late at night into some dingy hotel in the middle of nowhere. And once again, there's James Aloysius Bodfish in probably preparing for his next Reverend Paisley. Again, you had to be there at the time. Now, when we used to go on our tours, of course, often for these we had to take our own supplies with us. So here we have Pete brewing up, and heaven knows what the locals must have thought. A, when we all got on the trains, and then B, the primer's stoves came out for our own self-catering. And you've already seen this one. This was Saalfeld. We also had to clean the trains, of course, and the windows, not just provide our own catering. And this is at Saalfeld on what was billed to be the last ever 015 working out of Saalfeld. Of course, as it turned out with planned damp, it didn't. And there, and we had to arrange our own heating, of course. So basically, we were a self-contained unit, the Warwickshire Railway Society Overseas Tours Committee, and it is something to think about that I think there's only one of us left alive from when that photograph was taken. You will recognise everybody, I'm sure. So Dom, I've given you your time back. We're only 5 minutes late now. And pun intended with the pearly gates. And I don't know where that branch line goes, but I'm sure Peter did. So thank you all very much. I kept it as brief as I could.
A very appropriate tribute, I think you'll all agree, captured the moment, and I'm grateful to you to put it all in context. So that's great. So our next presentation is going to be Nigel, and so after those images that you sent me, he's doing all of them. That's it. Well, I'll set that on my database.